The 7 coolest things that happened on our airwaves that our OH reporters were a part of over the last 7 days. 7 things for 7 days, the lucky 7. I'll turn it over to Adam Thompson. What do you got for me this week? Where are we starting with number 1?
Lara Quente Hubner.
There it is. Lara Quente Hubner.
I just wanted to drop that out there. Where are we going to start? We're going to start at the beginning. That's where every good story should start, Brian. And this week, Trevin Harris putting up 39 points for those Centerburg Trojans.
39, baby. Good Lord, that's a lot of points. And this guy, I'll tell you this. So when we went and did media day during football season and we were filming with him in the locker room and stuff, I noticed that Trevin looking kind of big this year. You know, he'd been hitting the weights. He's about 6'4", I think. Excellent leaping ability. I had this anticipation that when it got to basketball season that he had this type of game within him. But 39, well, I don't know if I thought he could go for almost a 40 burger. Let me backtrack that a little bit because there's only 32 minutes in a high school game, so that's a lot of scoring and pretty cool to do it in a KMAC showdown as well. So, dang, way to go.
He did that in real life. Most people can't even do that in a video game. Number 2, Brian, of our lucky 7s this week. As soon as I could find, we're on a little smaller real estate here. Colonel Crawford, not the ones that we're used to, but the Colonel Crawford Little Eagles, the 8th graders, they repeat 16-0 as the N10 champions.
Yeah, I'm pretty glad that I ended up fielding this email. I got contacted by a parent about the fact that the Northern 10 championship game was going to be Winford versus Colonel Crawford. The Lady Eagles had a chance to go undefeated throughout their middle school careers, but standing in their way were the Royals, led by Miss Paige Sheldon, and then they got a couple of more dynamos as well that are going to be coming up the ranks and playing for Amy Taylor Sheldon when they get into the high school level. So I think that there were about 4 players that I saw on Saturday afternoon in this game that will be instant impact type of players when they get to the high school ranks. And oh, by the way, already they're the 2 best high school teams pretty much right now in the Northern 10. Colonel Crawford, of course, is the champions, but Reese Redmond, a double-double, number 23 right there playing that defense. She had 4 blocks as well. There they are, the champions, but to do it unblemished 2 years in a row, really impressed.
So I got to ask you, media coaching, how was that post-game interview with an 8th grader?
Fantastic. I thought that she was incredibly thoughtful. She already is learning how to deflect and give a lot of the credit to her teammates, to her coaching staff. So remember the name Reese Redmond. She's already been kind of identified as one of the 40 best 8th graders in the state of Ohio. Yeah, that's right. People are already recruiting and looking at that level. So I saw a little sheet that her name was on, and she's got the skill set. She's 5'10"-ish. She can handle. She can shoot the 3. She can get rebounds, obviously, and just the IQ. So it was a really good interview, and it was great that she wouldn't do it unless she could have all of her teammates with her. So already, that's a kid that gets it.
So probably still growing is what you're saying.
I think all those kids are still growing, right? They're like 13 and 14.
The scouting at this age. All right, moving on. Number 3, St. Paul, down 10 points. Not at the end of the game. 4th quarter deficit cut against Crestview.
This one, so I tuned into the game late in the 3rd quarter. I think I saw that the Cougars were up 14. I might be exaggerating just a little bit, but they had at least a double-digit lead. They started the 4th quarter with that 10-point cushion, and I don't know what happened, but I saw the final score, and what? So I had to text Jonathan Langdon, who was on the call, and just said, brother, like what did the Cougars melt down? And he said that it was more St. Paul took over. So the Flyers and what they were able to do with McCall and company, they've now made it a winner-take-all showdown for the Firelands Crown, assuming that both of these teams handle their business in their game before that on Saturday night at the Hangar in Norwalk. So you better believe we're going to be there for round 2 of this one. It's been the best rivalry going in the Firelands Conference over the last 3 seasons since the Cougars have been running the show and are the 2-time defending champions. But I don't know that you can just pencil them in and say that they're going to three-peat. Kind of like what we just saw in the Super Bowl yesterday, where I kind of felt like Kansas City, they've got all this momentum, they've got all the experience, and they're going to get it done. Well, that experience didn't pull it off for the Cougars at the end of the game, and not at home either. So I was a little bit shocked, honestly, to see this final score.
And that is not an easy place to go into and pick up a win. The Cougar Den, dangerous. So hats off, St. Paul pulling off not just a win, but a statement win and bringing on another game against Crestview. Let's go. Moving on, KMAC crowns some bowling champions, Brian. It was the return of the KMAC bowling, and we're moving over here. Travis and I had a fantastic time. It's been 2 years since we had been at Victory Lanes for the KMAC Championship, and they rolled out the red carpet as those kids were rolling strikes and spares. Did I do that okay? I tried.
I didn't get a cover 2 years ago. I was a little bit envious of seeing you and Travis out there and covering it this year because bowling's actually a super cool sport. What I love so much about it is that obviously we could go play it right now and on the exact same settings, conditions that these kids have, they're just a whole lot better than us. So I think that's what makes it so interesting for the casual observer. And guess what was the most viewed broadcast that we had last week? That's right. KMAC Bowling Championships. Baby. People are tuning in. They want to see it. And I think a big part of it is because of that exact factor where you're like, well, I could do that. Well, guess what? You can go prove it for like $2.50 if you rent some shoes down there at the Victory Lane. So hats off to all these kids. And hey, you got to also give them some credit for the longevity of it because you guys were there for 5.5 hours, I think. So these kids are nonstop bowling. I can usually hang for about 2 before my elbow starts having a little bit of problems, before I'm like, you know what, I need a little snack break here. So these athletes are just that, and they should be treated as such because that's a long day of bowling that they had to survive. Who ended up winning this whole thing?
All right. So
there it is.
Kind of discussing a little bit. So the winners of this event were for the boys, it was Mount Gilead. And for the girls, I believe it was Fredericktown. I'm looking at a much smaller screen right now. But this also determined the conference champions, which Northmore took away the whole thing. So to break that down, and this is why you guys typically don't have me on a mic, conference champions, Northmore girls and boys. Okay. The tournament winners were Mount Gilead boys and Fredericktown girls.
Got it.
So pretty cool. We're welcomed, like I said, and everybody out there had a great time. And the best part is you can't really capture it here because we're just doing video. The softball chants, think about that just everywhere, though. It's just 16 lanes of people excitement. It was a great time. 5.5 hours. They took one break at the halfway point, and everybody had a great time. I got to say thank you very much to Lori Reinhardt, to Russ Montgomery, and Courtney Reinhardt, and Austin. I'm just going to leave it at Austin because I'm not sure his last name. Gracious hosts, fantastic coaches, and I hope we're back for years to come.
Oh, we'll be back, baby.
Moving on, though. We're not quite there yet. Ontario edges Clear Fork at the in-school dual wrestling, baby.
This is one that I've also been watching from afar over the last couple of years, and this was the season that I was like, you know what? I have to get there in person and see what it's all about because the atmosphere, it is about as lit as a candle shop, buddy. Non-stop action. They have all the students all packed in there. It's in the middle of the school day too. They're probably just coming off of their lunch. So they've got that nice little sugar buzz and they're ready to just unload that energy on something. And instead of being bouncing around the classrooms and, you know, driving their teachers up the wall, they get to come out and they get to cheer for these awesome wrestlers. Two of the very best in the KMAC in Clear Fork and Ontario who slightly edged the Colts in a duel. But what was fun about it is that it was Ontario. They came out hot, man. They had the lead right from the very beginning. They got a couple of pins, but Clear Fork, 3 straight wins for them, back-to-back pins. They tightened things up, but the Warriors were like, nah, man, we're good. And then they win the last 3 matches, if I'm not mistaken, to go ahead and solidify themselves as the dual champions. But both of these schools had a lot of state-ranked wrestlers. Ontario specifically, I think, had 3 that really feel like they've got an opportunity to get the state and maybe not win it, but place on the bracket, get like in the top 5. So the energy, the environment, second to none that I've ever done for wrestling. This really was cool. So my shout out goes to Jess Brokaw and everybody at Clear Fork Schools that sets it up. They dim the lights. They've got every seat on the visitor side pretty much filled with speakers so that they can blare out all the rock music or heavy metal or hip hop, whatever the kids wanted to hear. They got their own individual walkout songs. The kids in the stands, they had light up bracelets. I mean, dude, this is a pretty good time for a 1 o'clock start.
This was a high school event. If we had taken off the word high school, you wouldn't really be sure if this was a professional sporting event until you started looking at the size of the athletes. It's so cool. It's a concert. Everybody is having a blast. Look at all those people. Could you imagine, though, being the opposing school? You're already showing up a little bit nervous. You got to wrestle. Hey, maybe there will be too many. No, everybody's there. Everybody and their mother is there. And oh, by the way, it's all just one spotlight on you. So no pressure. So congrats to the Warriors.
Yeah,
for
big
being
time,
able to
man.
go into there and walk out of there, not only alive, but as champions. Next up, 6 out of 7 takes us to Cardington. It's Fredericktown taking down Cardington for the KMAC title.
What I think is super cool about this game is that it kind of all boiled down to this one more matchup. Two teams tied right at the very top of the league, meeting for the second go-around. Cardington trying to get their piece of the KMAC pie. Fredericktown, they've been coming on so strong here as of late, and this was kind of a back-and-forth affair until the very final whistle. But the Freddies, the favorites to win it this season, they proved it. They get it done. Hostile environment out there at the pirate ship. This was an awesome game. The highlights are proving that. A lot of offense in this. I think the Freddies ended up scoring 77 to win it. Off the top of my head, that's a ton. I haven't been at very many high school games this year where that's been the case, but the Cardington put up like 71 as well. So this was a sweet game. I wish that we would have had it live and free on a broadcast, but tip my cap to Justin Wilson doing a phenomenal job getting down there, capturing all this action, because this was one for the record books, and it's the Freddies that will be remembered for the history that they put on. Big win, and they are the KMAC champs.
Well, congrats to the Freddies. I've seen the Freddies in action once this season as they pretty much dismantled Centerburg. So this is going to be a team to keep your eyes on, and fortunately, we got your eyes covered for you most of the time.
That's right.
We got one more, though, Brian. It's only at 6 right now, and if my math is correct, you need 7 to hit 7.
Just one more.
Just one more. We're heading ourselves... hold on. I got to set the stage just a little bit more for this one. So the awards season might be over with, but we all witnessed the greatest music performance possibly of all time. And no, I'm not talking about last night's Super Bowl halftime show. Okay. I'm talking about, well, let's just show the people.
Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar.
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Joe Balogh, welcome back, man. Dude, how was Florida?
Man, it was nice. Sunshine, warm weather. Spending time with my granddaughter. Man, it was great.
Awesome.
What you watching?
Just a rerun of the Grammys. I missed it the other night and wanted to catch it. And they're about to give away the award for Best Performance of the Year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Here are your nominees for Performance of the Year. Beyonce, Cowboy Carter.
This ain't Texas, ain't no hold'em.
David Sheldon, You've Lost That Loving Feeling from Coach's Corner.
You lost that love and feeling. Whoa, that love and feeling.
No way!
As selected by the 13,000 voting members of the Recording Academy, the Grammy goes to... Even if it's not you, Beyonce, I might just say it.
David Sheldon. This performance is even better than his win over Coach Joe in Ontario in their final meeting as members of the North Central Conference in 2013.
Unbelievable! Sheldon wins again!
That Sheldon track is hot fire. Oh my God. I gotta download that right now.
You lost.
Yeah. actually listening to it right now. I just have had that track on repeat. I had no idea that Sheldon was such a star, but the way that Miley Cyrus had to break it down for Joe Balogh like that, a better performance than Sheldon's 2013 victory in their last NCC game, I thought that was a little bit cold and unnecessary. I feel like Joe, I think, had a slight upper hand in the head-to-head over the years that they played. So to just pick that one out, I thought Miley kind of took it a little bit too far, but Sheldon wins again.
Sheldon wins again, and I was fortunate enough to be live at that event, and it was elbows to elbows, standing room only at the studios of Coach's Corner. So I don't know if I'll ever forget that. Tattooed on my brain. I might have to get like him tattooed on my back.
Yeah, you see Taylor Swift, Beyonce, the whole gang out there swaying side to side. They couldn't help it.
They're all second tier to one David Sheldon. And now we're going to have to put up with Joe dealing with that. So that's your problem.
Yeah, that's a you thing, people.